Welcome back, guys. This is episode 8 of the Kaiser series. This one is the Chaos Film fight. As you can see here, I am buffing up. I did get a red star potion from Frederick after one of the RA bosses. Those were my stats really quickly on the screen. You can pause the video to look at it. But the reason why I was so overgeared for the previous fights was because Chaos Vellum is just that much harder than the other Chaos Root Abyss bosses. Not only because he has way more HP, he has like 200 billion, but he has much higher defense, which means a lot higher ID requirement, and he stays underground for much of the fight. So you can see here, I did equip my bind for this fight. I wasn't too sure if it was worth using a matrix slot for Urda Nova, but I decided to just try it out. So for the first part of the fight, Chaos Vellum will mostly stay underground and reappear shortly. He only really has two different mechanics at this point. The first one is he will appear for a short amount of time, pretty much do nothing, and then just dive back down. And a tail will appear occasionally, like as you can see. The other mechanic is he will get, you can hear a little roar if you have sound turned on, and he will appear like tall, and you will shoot a fireball 3 times at where you are. However, if you are basically on him or behind him, he can't detect you and his fireballs will just go wherever. And you can use this time to DPS a lot. However, he will shoot up like I think 3 or 4 tails at your current location, so you have to learn how to bait out the tails pretty much, so that you can, as you can see here, like I stand just in front of him, bait out like the first few tails, and I slowly move back behind him. That is the best strategy that I found to do Chaos Vellum, pretty much for any class. This fight is very long, so I won't be able to provide commentary for most of it because Chaos Vellum doesn't really have that many different mechs. But okay, that one he will just appear, like there will be a giant yellow circle, and he will dive over it. And if you get caught in it, you will get one shot. Well, like I was saying, yeah, I won't be able to provide commentary for every single second of the fight just because he just does repeat most of the mechanics. But I will say that, okay, here I do get hit by the falling rocks. If you get hit by any of them, you get stunned, and obviously getting stunned is pretty bad because you will probably get hit by one of the tails or Cvel himself. Honestly though, because if you're trying to do this fight with relatively low damage, it is a very mechanically difficult boss relative to any other boss that you have probably tried fighting. And so I would definitely recommend getting at least a few days worth of practice. Like I mentioned earlier, you can, in a previous episode, you can use practice mode 5 times a day, or you can just enter Cvel once every 30 minutes. Obviously, I've been doing this fight for a few years with a variety of different characters, so this it still took me a couple of practice runs. I will admit that, but yeah, this was like my third or fourth attempt at this fight, so it does require a decent amount of practice, especially if you are trying to do low damage. Obviously, the more geared you are, the higher your damage, it will compensate more for any mechanical skills. So it is up to you to decide whether you want to go at it with like mechanics or gear. But I think if you are at like around my stats, it should be doable, but honestly I wouldn't recommend doing it at the stats that I was at, because I do almost take the full 20 minutes. I think this fight does go for like around 16 minutes. So for most new players, I would recommend gearing past my current stats. One skill that's really useful in this fight is learning how to remember where the rocks do fall. You just have to, obviously it does show where they are going to fall, but you just have to, as you're moving around, the screen moves as along with you, and so you kind of have to have some spatial awareness and remember where those rocks are falling. So there he does a different mech where Chaos Venom stays up for a bit and starts shooting down poison or lasers. The falling poison won't one-shot you, but it will do most of your health. And if you stand on the green lasers, it will do a little bit of tick damage. Along with that, Cdmg will also shoot up like 3 or 4 tails, and so the tails are honestly the most troubling part of the mechanic. And the problem is the yellow spots for the tails are kinda hidden by the green circles on the ground, and so I would definitely recommend players to turn down your visibility all the way down, because as you can see here, the green kind of overlaps. It covers the yellow circles for the tails. But other than that, if you can dodge the falling poison, you can pretty much stand in the poison that's already fallen, and you can DPS for a good bit because Chaos Venom is just sitting there. So yeah, Chaos Venom will start doing this poison mechanic at about 60 to 70% HP, I'm not quite too sure. But once he starts doing this mechanic, he will start doing it every like 30 seconds or so, along with the fireball mechanic. And so actually it turns out that as the fight progresses longer, you'll actually start dealing more damage per minute, simply because Chaos Venom will start staying up longer. Later you'll see the other full map attack mechanic, but the poison mechanic and the fireball mechanic means that Chaos Venom will be just up for a lot longer. And so even if you're just starting to practice the Chaos Venom fight and you see that you've only dealt like a certain amount of HP like in the first few minutes, and it looks like you won't be able to finish the fight in time, just remember that the fight does get easier. So you can see here that this is the new mechanic that happens at around this HP. Chaos Venom will just disappear for a few seconds, and once he does, you should pretty much know that this mechanic is going to happen. It says Chaos Venom will take a deep breath, and so what you should do is you should go to one end of the map. If Chaos Venom appears, then you should start attacking him, but if he doesn't appear, then you should quickly go to the other side of the map, because he will shoot his full map attack breath from either one of the sides. And he will also start adding this mechanic into his rotation. Now he has pretty much three big mechanics: the fireball, the poison, and the breath. And honestly, in between these three mechanics, he will be above ground for a big portion of the time. So you can see there he was coming towards me, but he disappeared, and that's a good indication that he will do the breath mechanic. One thing to notice here is that pretty much one set of rocks will always fall during that time, so make sure not to get stunned, because if you do, you might get dragged into the breath and get one shot. Also, after his breath mechanic ends, he will always send up one tail. So just because the breath mechanic is over doesn't mean you should just ignore the mechanic, because there is a tail mechanic at the end. As you can see there, I iframe pretty much because almost all of Chaos Velem's mechanics will one-shot you if he does manage to hit. If Chaos Velem does appear, like when he does come up on you, he will pretty much one-shot you as well. But there are certain times where he will do like 90% of your HP instead. Also, sometimes when he's coming down after like a breath mechanic or such, he will also deal like 90% of HP. Just a warning. So yeah, every poison breath mechanic will also have like around 3 to 4 tails that appear. Oh, I should also mention that hitting the tails won't actually do any damage to Chaos Velem himself. You can just hit them for if your class has like a stacking mechanic or whatnot. For me, I hit the tails to get some of the morph gauge back up, sometimes. Honestly, one of the most annoying things about Chaos Velem is that just because you beat him doesn't mean you get the 4 set, the weapon, pretty much because you need 15 fragments instead of 5 to get the weapon, and Chaos Velem will drop at a max 14, which actually really spiteful by Nexon, but that means you pretty much always have to run at least 2 times. I would definitely recommend, if you know you can clear this fight, definitely bring any source of drop rate, whether it is a Legion drop coupon or drop gear, because it does increase the amount of shards that Chaos Velem drops. But yeah, there I wait for the rocks to fall before I go across the map. Oh yeah, also for that poison breath mechanic, like I did there, you always do have the option of just running away, because the falling poison and everything does have a range. The same thing with his fireball. As you can see there, he is shooting his fireball on the right side, but once you're a certain distance away from him, he can't detect you and he can't just like shoot his fireball across the map. I'm not saying you should do that because you are wasting time that you could be DPSing, but if you are playing scared for whatever reason, like you're low on lives, you can always just run away. But yeah, the most valuable skills is to for this fight is to recognize where, like, the timing of his tails pretty much, and how to control them, and also just to watch out for the falling rocks. If you get those two skills down, pretty much you can, the other mechanics aren't that hard. But again, I will reiterate that this boss fight will probably take a lot of practice if you are about the damage I am, and so either you're going to spend a lot of time practicing, or you should gear up, or probably a combination of both, most realistically. So you can see there I did pop a drop coupon because I am trying to get the weapon in hopefully 2 runs and not 3. The time that this video goes up, I still haven't done my second Chaos Vellum run. I think this one was recorded like about a week ago. This one was recorded like maybe like 8 or 9 days ago. So yeah, by the time this goes up, I will probably be attempting my second Chaos Vellum run. So unfortunately, you can see there I did die once in this fight, but honestly, the fight did go a lot better than I expected. In my practice runs, I was pretty much dying out. But yeah, as you can see there, I did beat Chaos Vellum for the first time, and after a delay, he does just spray items across the entire map. So yeah, that was the Chaos Vellum fight. I did try to get a Chaos Vellum helmet, because the Chaos hats are a lucky hat, and they do go fit into any slot, but unfortunately I didn't get any lucky hats during my CRA runs. So that is that. I did end up getting I think like 7 fragments, or 8 fragments, so I need 7 more fragments to get the weapon. So yeah, I won't be uploading my second Chaos Vellum fight because that is pretty redundant, but the next video I should probably be upgrading my CRA set. So those are my stats on my V matrix. Yeah, thanks for watching.